put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We are chatting this morning with Dr. Faith B. Israel. She is the PDP candidate for Belgarden, Glamorgan. And we are talking this morning about, in fact, we're taking an outlook on the elections, the 2021 December elections. Good morning and welcome to Dr. Faith.
Good morning, Ria. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a pleasure being here.
Always a pleasure to have you. Dr. Faith, let's jump right into things. What are the, the public seems to believe that from listening to all of the candidates, all of the parties, that the real issues are not being spoken about. We are hearing everything else. We're hearing the Picong, we're hearing the old rhetoric. We're just not hearing the issues post-COVID. We're not hearing the issues that matter to the people of Tobago. What say you as it relates to these issues, the issues on the ground?
So I would actually push back a little bit on that, because I can attest to the fact that the members on my side have been mandated since even before the election was called to stick to the issues. And if we actually listen carefully to everything that we have been saying when we started with our Wednesday evening workshops, and since we have been on the platform every night for the last week or so, all of our candidates have been mandated, you do not talk stupidness. You are to go up there and speak about bread and butter issues, which is why that is a big part of our theme, because that is what is important. Unfortunately, though, and I would have to jump in the media, what you see as the clips that come out of it, sometimes those are really the little things, the things that the other people say, and it seems as if that is what everybody is speaking about. But I would say categorically that the Progressive Democratic Patriots has been focusing on the bread and butter issues. And if you actually listen carefully, you would hear us speak about those things. As, for example, our DPL Farley yesterday spent the entire almost an hour speaking about how we would treat with workers' issues in the Tobago House of Assembly and regularizing workers and that kind of stuff. You may not see that on the media today, but that is what he spent an hour speaking about last night.
All right, and I'm glad that you touched on, and that is one of the bread and butter issues that we're talking about. What are some of the other bread and butter issues on the table?
So because I'm a health expert, that is critical. We now are in the middle of what may be the third or fourth, or heaven knows, the fifth wave of COVID infections in Tobago, and the fact that we need to actually treat with that, given that we still have some of the highest rates of non-communicable diseases. So our healthcare system has been strained with COVID and with everything else that we have been dealing with before COVID. That's definitely a bread and butter issue. I actually know people who are sick and are afraid to go to the hospital. They are missing their clinic dates because they are afraid to go up in the hospital. We are going to have to deal with the ramifications of that for a very long time after. The issue of food security is one that is absolutely critical. I think COVID highlighted the fact that Tobago had been too dependent, or not just COVID, even before that, when we had situations where, the boat didn't come from Trinidad and suddenly we didn't have all of these things on our shelves. That is something that is critical. Tobago needs to be able to feed itself. Even if we're not thinking about marketing externally, we need to ensure that if for whatever reason we are literally marooned on this island, we can take care of ourselves. So that's another critical issue. Infrastructure is one. And I say infrastructure because of where I live, there was a picture of me, I took it a day or two ago, where my hands were stretched out like this, standing behind a pothole, and my hands had not gotten to the two ends of the pothole. And I noticed it only because I had actually seen a minivan actually almost drowned in the pothole. You could tell the drivers were so upset, they were so shocked.
What area this was?
This was in Pembroke. Now, this is my district since January, but the reality is because of the PDP 6 sitting on the outside of the Executive Council, we did not have the resources to say, let's go fix a pothole. As a matter of fact, in some instances, we have been coming together with our districts, with people in our districts, and buying cement and making concrete and pouring into some of these holes is what we've actually been doing for the last couple months to help with this situation, again, because we did not have access to those kinds of things. What else is there? There are so many other issues. Education. Education is one that Tobago has been, we don't like to say it, we don't like to admit it, but Tobago has actually not been performing as well as Tobagonians need to perform. And that starts from the young ones. But when you go to the part of you know, I am an adult, I want to have tertiary education, you recognize that what is happening on the island is not necessarily fulfilling the needs of those on the island. And I have personal experiences with that. I taught at a tertiary education institution in Tobago. And there were programs on the books. And when I saw it on the books, I would say, oh yeah, great, we have this program on the book. Let me go grab students who I know want to study this thing. And then they would call and they would tell them, oh no, we're not doing that in Tobago. We don't have a lecturer for that in Tobago. And then I would actually say, no, hold up. You all didn't ask anybody, because I could promise you within a week I can find a competent lecturer to teach this course. And that is what I actually did. So there was a quick shift while I was there.
You did this?
I did this because I knew there were Tobagonians who needed to do those specific courses, and because of their life circumstance, they could not pick up and do those courses in Trinidad. Now, mind you, this was before COVID, where we recognized that things could happen online. Right. And I would personally actually go out because I knew there are Tobagonians who are competent, who are trained in this specific issue. They may not be working in that field right now because there were no jobs in that specific field. But I know this person has a master's in this, you know, or this person has a thing, and I would find them and say, okay, you need to call this school because they are looking for a lecturer and I know you can do it. Let's pull all of this together.
And I'm glad that you raised that issue. Square pegs in round holes, or round pegs in square holes, however we want to switch it around. But persons who are qualified to do the jobs in Tobago who are not being hired. Let's talk to that issue.
Yes, and that is, it's not just persons who are qualified who are not being hired. We actually have people who are qualified and are being hired. Tobagonians with specific degrees. I know, for example, there's one...
And experience.
And experience. There's this one girl, she's a very good friend of mine. Actually, I taught her. She's a lab technician. She is a trained lab technician, and she is packing shells. This is what we're talking about. She's packing grocery shells. This is somebody who has a degree to be a lab technician. That is what we are talking about. So Assemblyman Farley, or DPL Farley, last night again even spoke about the concept of a manpower audit to see, okay, these are the people we have working with the Tobago House of Assembly. These are their actual skills. This is might be where they are placed now, but we definitely need to realign who they are, their technical capacity, with where they are working. That is going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of adjusting, but that is actually one of the policies that the Progressive Democratic Patriots plans to implement when we get there, because we need to ensure that the people who we are hiring to do the job are the people who have the technical capacity to do it.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your boundaries, your boundaries as it relates to your electoral district. How far does your electoral district stretch? Yeah,
so the name of the district, and this is the one thing I have beef with EBC with. One of the things. The name of the district is Belgarden Glamorgan. And if you know country, you would feel that it is Belgarden Village and Glamorgan Village alone. No. My district actually starts by the bridge in Goldsboro. Yes.
The bridge
just
on the corner.
Just on the corner, because there's a river that runs. So the bound really is the river.
Okay.
So to make it easy, that Goldsboro Bridge.
Yes, that's after Goodwood. So if we explain it to our viewers,
just before Weirdos and Bakery and that kind of thing. Just before there, that is where my bound is on that end. And on the other end, it is Kendall Fab School Junction. So it goes all the way from Goldsboro. So half of the people who live in Goldsboro, because some live on this side, some live on the other side, some of them vote for me. Those who vote in the Pembroke in the Pembroke school, if you are voting in the Pembroke school, then you are in my district. And then it goes all the way to Kendall Farm School. So those who voting in the Belgarden Community Center, who used to vote for Mr. Duke before, even though they were voting in Belgarden, that stretch.
Now Kendall, the village of Kendall goes a little bit beyond the farm school. So what happens to those persons who are just after the farm school?
So because that is the bound of those people, most of them, if not all of them, actually vote. It's just a few houses, but they are not on my list. They are on the Roxborough Argyle list. So they would vote in Bay School in Roxborough.
All right, so we have just about a week and a half to go for the elections. Let's talk about what is next. What is happening within this week?
So this week, what we've been doing is all of our candidates of all of the electoral districts have been having nightly meetings. And because of COVID and because I have taken a responsibility to ensure that I do not inherit a COVID nightmare, one of the things we've decided to do is that we've decided to keep all of our all of our meetings.
You do not inherit?
No, because I know that Tobagonians are smart, and I know that Tobagonians will vote for the Progressive Democratic Patriots. And if that happens, then I will be the Secretary for Health. And then I don't want to deal with the nightmare of having a whole COVID outbreak because of elections.
I see.
So I have actually told my team, and I've been arguing with them. Some of them are kind of, and I'm like, no, this is how it's going to happen, because we will not be getting sick. We will not be responsible for Tobagonians getting sick. So what we've been doing is having our virtual meetings where we are at a single location. We limit the number of people who can come there. We are not having any motorcade or anything like that. We are not going into the districts the way we normally had those street meetings, because again, Tobagonians want to be a part of that, and they were coming. And when they come, that causes the crowding, that causes, some of them may not be wearing their masks properly. We now have to treat with the police and all of that. And we did not want to deal with that. So what we've done is each of the candidates have been told that you need to go. You have been assigned a truck or two or a music van or two. You can go to your district different times. You pull up on a corner, pull the mic all by yourself, so there's no gathering, there's no large crowd.
I did see Mr. Duke yesterday with a team of persons in Lamy.
Yes,
Lamy Road.
And they're doing that. And if you look through Tobago, you will see the candidates doing that, where it's just one person on a mic speaking, and then when we have the meeting, that is your specific meeting, then you focus on your district. We come down to that area, and then that is what we broadcast on social media and on TV and that kind of thing.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Faith, for chatting with us. Just before we go, any parting words for our viewers?
Sure, I would like to just encourage Tobagonians to actually vote on December 6th. Now, I would like to tell you to vote for the PDP, but even if you're not planning to vote for the PDP, I need you all to come out and vote. On December 6th, we all have a single, we are all equals. We all have the right and the responsibility to vote, and I am asking each and every one of you to ensure that you fulfill that mandate. Come out and vote, come out and vote, come out and vote. Don't stay home this time. It is too important for you to stay home. Ensure that you do what you need to do to turn Tobago, to shift Tobago, to transform this island known as Tobago.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Faith B. Israel, for chatting with us, the PDP candidate for the Bell Garden Glamorgan electoral district. But viewers, we've got to take a break, and when we come back, we go to This Day in History. And just to close us off on our program this morning, we will be chatting with Peter and Anne-Marie Brimacombe and Jason Clark on the We Are One, the concert.